Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. This is a historic episode of Geeky Gentlemen History Month, the month in which we discuss the contributions that Geeky Gentlemen have made to history, but that have been ignored by its educational system, because for the first time we have Steve Baxley live in person. This isn't my digital trickery. He's actually here.
I'm CGI, don't believe him.
Yeah?
I'm a live model decoy.
Yeah, just, you're like my own personal Tarkin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Suck it, people that say we can't do CGI dead guys.
Hey, no. Yeah, so Steve is in town and it gave us a rare opportunity to record some episodes, and I cannot think of a better time for you to actually be here, because as much as I love Horror Month and stuff, History Month is my favorite month of Geeky Gentlemen.
What about Holiday Month?
I do that for you.
As you should. As you should.
Yes, so we're here for a historic episode of History Month here on Geeky Gentlemen. And I was really thinking, I want to get a couple episodes done, but I don't want to spend the whole time where you're here just recording. So I thought one really good thing to talk about that's not only relevant to the month, but relevant to you being here, and I said I'd spring this on him, folks. The idea of the evolution of friendships in the digital age, the idea of the evolution of relationships in the digital age, because this couldn't be happening if not for that, right?
I like it. Neither one of us turned out to be a murderer.
Yeah. It's really helping.
You still haven't looked at my bag, you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Already with our inside jokes. Nice.
Exactly. So, yeah, I like this. This is interesting. So let me tell you, you had people say when you were telling them that you had a friend coming in town that you've never met me. Mm-hmm. I don't think I told anyone that I was going to see someone I've never met, partly because I knew I'd get that question.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I was telling friends from work that I'm taking today, Friday, off because you're coming into town. I'm picking you up at the airport. You're staying at the house. And they're like, oh, friend that you haven't seen in a while? I'm like, friend I've never actually physically met in person. No. And it's just... It's not that this is a new thing, if we talk about this historically. Pen pals have always been a thing, but the rate of interaction has become instant in the digital age, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can text message or phone call anybody, it doesn't really matter whether they're physically there. Mm-hmm. Like older psychological studies will say something like people fall out of favor with each other because they're not immediately in the same space, which made some sense, but now if I can just message you, it doesn't matter.
And it's weird because I have experienced that. As I've gotten older, I've lost friends, but I've gained a different kind of friend through digital interaction. And what I think it is it's more specialized now, right? Like, you have a more intense connection, because I feel like your friends from work, your friends from school, they're kind of friends out of circumstance, out of similar backgrounds and similar circumstance. Whereas a lot of online relationships tend to be built up more through just person-to-person interaction, just shared interests.
Well, it's because in part you built the circumstances to make those friendships work, where like I actively find certain corners of YouTube to go into. Mm-hmm. And because I know what I'm getting into, it makes perfect sense that you'd end up friends with the people in that space, because you created the circumstances for them to be there.
Yeah. So it's weird the way that it seems... I feel like it's this interesting thing where it seems like it should be stranger than it is, but like, you came up to me at the airport and I'm just like, holy shit, it's Steve.
Yeah.
So like, there's that novel side of it, but at the same time, I have not talked this much in day-to-day life in fucking years.
Neither do I. I don't talk to people.
Yeah, we're just like constantly back and forth now, because there's such a deep personal connection that's been built up over a different set of circumstances than you have with quote-unquote traditional friendships.
Well, and with pen pals and stuff, there's always be the expectation of when you meet someone physically, it's weird or you don't click, and we didn't have that. It was very instant because we've been talking for so long. How many years has it been?
I mean, you joined Geeky Gentleman in what, 2014?
Was it 24? So 4 years.
Yeah.
You've been at least 4 years.
Yeah, and like that's as long as friendships that I had in high school.
Yeah.
Like literally, I remember friends, and like I'm sure if I ran into these people, we'd still be cool. We'd reminisce. We'd hit it off, but the friendship's over from people that I knew throughout high school. That friendship's over. I haven't talked to them, and part of it's my fault. Part of it's their fault. Part of it's a bit of both faults for not making the effort to stay in touch. But life goes in different directions for people after school, after stuff like that, and so it's just, why would you make the effort when you are becoming such different people, as opposed to a non-relying relationship, which is you are developing with each other because you're both, or you and multiple people are within the same kind of circle.
Well, and then the other thing is, with physical relationships, specifically when it comes to school, if any party ever needs any sort of space, they can't necessarily have it. Or like if you're pissed at somebody, you have to see them in class or something. When it's a digital relationship, you just log off. It's really easy to like have your therapeutic self and then invite someone in whenever you want to. Both sides have complete autonomy and control in a way they don't in real life.
And see, what's really interesting about that is also a good thing, but also can be a really, really bad thing that can lead to a lot of self-destructive behavior, because this isn't the first time I've invited someone that I know strictly from online to come hang out.
Right.
You know, it's a weird kind of like this thing that we don't really talk about on Geeky Gentleman since he left, but Milan.
Oh, I didn't realize he was here before.
Oh, no, he was never here, but I invited him at one point.
Oh, I see.
Things were really, really bad with his family, and I was like, dude, just get the fuck out. You can come stay on my couch for a couple weeks or something. I extended that invitation to him, but because you have these friendships that are halfway across the world, when someone does start to go on a really dark path, and obviously he dealt with a lot of mental illness stuff, not an excuse for his behavior at all, but he dealt with a lot of mental illness stuff, and he went down this really, really dark path. And like, so yeah, there's the refreshing side of things that you're not forced to be around someone, but there's a dangerous side to it too, because as someone's more detached, it's easier for them to drop off and you have no idea where they are or what's going on with them or what they're getting into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And part of the issue here is also parents, particularly when we were kids, are like, be careful on the internet, you can't trust anybody. And they're extending like a very territorial physical relationship onto the internet, as if everyone on the internet is either evil or there for nefarious purposes. But the more the internet becomes a community, the less you have any reason to hide anything. Like, screen names are not a thing anymore. Now you just go by your name.
For me.
Except for you. Except for you, because you're old. But everyone's fine with just throwing their name on the internet, which is not a thing you did, like, even 5 years ago, maybe. So when you do sign in and out, or you don't talk to somebody, since the name's there, it's a lot more personal, too. You're very clearly allowing people to trust you and extending trust in ways you don't in real life. Like, if you see someone at the grocery store, you're not like, hi, my name, first and last, immediately.
Yeah, like, if someone asks you your name, like, I mean, what is the old instant messenger things? The first question a lot of people would ask each other beyond just hi was ASL, age, sex, location. And those are, like, a couple of those things are incredibly obvious. Like, they can't tell your exact age, but someone can generally age you within the decade that you're on. And they can tell where you are in the world because you're in front of them. They won't know exactly where you live, though. But, like, these things are much more intense and much more personal now.
Well, when someone sends you a friend request on Facebook, even if you have your account blocked for anyone who isn't already a friend, they can immediately tell what you look like, where you're from, probably how old you are, where you go to school. Like, all of it's already there. And we don't have any problem with that on the internet.
And it's
really bizarre.
Yeah, because we're so, like, if you were to go to a stranger in and like a public space. If you were like, if you're on vacation,
Yeah.
technically, and you're on vacation in Fort Wayne, I'm going to make fun of you for that.
Right.
But like, if you were to go up to someone, like we were at Target earlier, and someone were to try to ask you that, like if they overheard you're on vacation, they asked you, "Oh, where are you from? What do you do?" There's like going to be like a moment of hesitation to answer something like that. Whereas if you're just in a chat room online, there's some kind of weird detachment in ways.
Yeah. I mean, like, just look at my Twitter bio. You can probably come within a mile of me if you know what my Twitter bio is. Mm-hmm. And no one particularly cares.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is if you go up and ask somebody, you're very clearly attempting to get to know a person, but because you're in, like, either customer service relationships or just, like, orienting yourself because of their circumstance and you just have to create a conversation, you can really easily slide in and out and explain what kinds of parts of yourself you want to share and which ones you don't. Mm-hmm. The internet doesn't let you tailor yourself. Because you create the circumstances you want to hang out in, everything that you do is extremely open. Mm-hmm. And it's hard as hell to hide it.
Yeah, like, I know there are people who create, like, entire false identities online and stuff, but...
It's so hard to maintain, though.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to maintain, and immediately once that kind of stuff comes out, that person becomes really, really ostracized by the communities they were rotating in.
Yeah, you know? Facebook groups, YouTube communities are a lot like this, where someone will make multiple accounts. At some point, you figure out who's doing it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so it's just really it's interesting the way that online activity has changed social dynamics, because there's a dark side to it that that can get really disruptive because, you know, like hate groups and particularly like misogynistic behavior online is pretty common, and I'm of the opinion that misogyny and various levels of bigotry like homophobia are actually reasonably common in younger men, but you kind of grow out of that.
Or at least you come to realize you're doing it and you try to stop.
Yeah, but that's not the case anymore, because now there are entire online communities that encourage and feed off of it, and so it kind of becomes like the whole snake eating its own tail thing.
Yeah, and this is the Jordan Peterson thing, right? Like, if you cultivate your internet space in a particular way, you're a 14-year-old watching Jordan Peterson videos for decades, you're never going to get out of that mindset. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to.
Yeah, and so that's just what makes it so interesting, is you can kind of become ingrained in the thing. So it's not that it's like a better method of social interaction, it's just a very profoundly different one that takes away some of the aspects of like the social mask, but replaces it with very different ones.
Well, and think about this also in terms of like the old school divisions between introvert and extrovert, mm-hmm. which don't seem to really exist when you're thinking about the internet.
Everyone online is an introvert, right?
Yeah, and clearly not, because part of the problem is people go on the internet to relax. Mm-hmm. And if you're a person that doesn't like hanging out physically with people, you're still hanging out with people a lot online to relax, and it's bizarre how that changes.
Well, it's, you know, you say that, and when computers were first like taking off and everything, they're really popular for a while, and then after a while you can only do so much with a computer. It's a machine that you're just putting information into, and it's giving you back very specific things.
Yeah.
When email was introduced, it instantly became the most popular, for lack of a better word, app on every computer device. Like, companies were rushing to create their own emails connected to computers. Remember that? Fucking, like,
yes.
Outlooks on your desktop computers and shit?
God, I hated that.
Yeah. So, like, companies were rushing to fulfill the need to be email, and it's because it's interaction with another person.
Yeah.
And so it's just so weird. I sent you a video from this series, but I don't know if you watch it
I think
at
I
all.
remember where it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think you messaged me with it.
Yeah, it's called People Watching, and it's really, really interesting. And they did a whole bit.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that.
Yeah, they did a whole bit in one of the episodes where the guy's talking about how at one point they thought their uncle, who lived across the country, died. And they'd only really talked to him once or twice a year. But then it turned out he was alive, and they didn't find out for like a good month or two. And so like they make this whole point of that interaction that they had with him, he was just as real dead as he was alive. And they made that point to transition it to talk about things that are not real.
Right.
So, like, I don't know, do you think that people are more open in certain ways online because it feels less real than trying to say that to a person's face?
Yeah, I mean, part of it's the autonomy thing, where even if we're not using screen names anymore, there is still that notion of if you put something on the internet, there's no tangible material consequence for saying or doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get away with saying and doing a lot more, even if you're inconsistent with yourself and you just kind of want to say whatever. But then the danger of that is there's a level of that behavior that can be tracked and traced back materially. So, like, if someone sends you a death threat on Twitter, 9 times out of 10, nothing's going to happen from it. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that you're so open and you try not to be on the internet and you can't control it, that there is still sort of a risk of it happening. Mm-hmm. Part of that brings me back to the other point of, like, if you're worried about someone and you don't know what they're doing, you can just check last time they were active on Facebook. If they were active a few minutes ago, then you have nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. And it's really bizarre how you can infer so much about where a person's situation is just depending on whether or not they're online.
Yeah, and, like, you know... fuck, I'm gonna get personal. So, like, you scared the shit out of me when you disappeared for, like, that month or so.
Like 3 months?
Yeah, but, like, there was just a month without any contact whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, what happened to her? What happened? Like, everyone was kind of wondering about that at the time.
That was a big one, yeah. I remember I didn't have internet for, like, a month when that happened either, so that was weird.
Yeah.
And there are certain people you want to get in touch with sooner than others over the internet, but then there are other people that probably were more curious than they were worried, but because we all just knew each other on the internet, there was nothing anyone could do. Mm-hmm. I remember when that happened, Captain Logan actually tried to find my, like, house phone number to see if he could call.
Wow.
And he didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird, though. I didn't think you could... I figured my phone number would be online somewhere, but I guess not.
It's harder to track that stuff. Like, it's part of it's the television show aspect of it. Like, anytime the cops need to find someone through the internet and find their personal information, it takes them, like, 2 seconds, when in reality that's, like... It's harder than that, and then there are all the services that try to like market as if they can just do it for you in a snap, and it's not as
tricky.
Easy. Yeah, if you don't put your telephone number out there on the internet, people are gonna have a harder time finding it.
What's gonna happen if I tweet my phone number? Should I tweet my phone number?
Do it right now.
No, I'm not doing it.
Do it on
right
recording.
I am not tweeting my phone number. There are some weird people that follow me.
Yeah, no, and like, so you deal with the. This isn't just friendship, this is social interaction online. So you deal with the troll community, or
I try not to, but yeah.
Well, you've had to more so, and I think it's fallen off for you a bit in recent months, right?
A little bit, yeah. Most of the trolling was during my YouTube videos that got really, really popular, like the Civil War one, the Age of Ultron one, the Batman vs. Superman one. Mm-hmm. And then it really kicked up when I was in Geekvolution for a while. And then after leaving, it stayed for a bit, and then I think everyone got bored because I wasn't responding. Mm-hmm. And now it's more of, like, political trolls.
Okay.
Who are, weirdly enough, not as death-threaty.
So
At least not to me.
It's so interesting for you as an aesthetic philosopher kind of thing. You've literally seen it measured that people seem to have more investment in opinions on a movie than political stances on issues.
Yes. So the fascists will not want to stick a knife through my throat, but if I say Batman vs. Superman's a bad movie, they will.
That's hilarious.
I don't understand.
That is so crazy.
In my head, those two things are kind of the same thing, but still. There come the trolls.
Leave your comments. We'll read them and laugh. And, like, that's the thing is, though, it's so weird when the troll threats happen, because I've gotten stuff, and you remember that person that, like, I reviewed their fan film, and then they, like, made an account saying I was a terrorist and all this shit.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah,
What movie was that?
It was a Creep Show fan film,
oh,
and Rasco and I reviewed it, and we realized in the middle of the review that, like, he'd taken other people's short horror films and just kind of compiled them into a collection, an anthology horror film, and put his own shit in there too.
Oh,
so we're, like, really, really harsh on it for just stealing.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so they ended up deleting the video, and then, like, days later, I started getting all this shit of, like, these fuck yous, and we're gonna send this tweet you made about Mike Pence being electrocuted to the CIA and all this other stuff. And, like, it's such a stupid Mike Pence joke. I was like, I wonder if anyone electroshocked Mike Pence, if it would turn him gay. We both had interaction with it, and it's so weird the visceral nature that comes through that stuff. And yeah, part of it's the anonymity, but
part of it's the immaterial, right? Like, you can say that shit and nothing happens. If there's a Nazi on Twitter talking about Nazi stuff, sorry, Twitter support's not going to help you.
Yeah.
They won't do jack shit about it.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. And so, like, there's this old quote, and I'm going to forget who it is, but, like, basically you judge the character of someone based on what they say when they think they are not being listened to.
That sounds like a Mark Twain thing.
Yeah, or something like that. And, you know, that's really good, and I think the internet's almost become that, because it's this weird thing of they're projecting it to an audience, but it's almost more personal than if they were to say it in person.
Well, that's the tagging thing, right? Like, now there's like a weird trend now on Facebook and Twitter where you start talking about people, but if you actually like their work, you shouldn't tag them. And you should just talk about it personally and let you reflect on it. And if you tag them, it's because you want their attention. Mm-hmm. That's really weird.
Yeah, if you tag them, it's because you want to, like, say nasty things about them. And, like, you know, it's weird because I've found myself in that situation. I didn't really do it necessarily because I was trying to get their attention. This was the Scott Snyder thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it because I was trying to grab Scott Snyder's attention. I was just putting in Scott Snyder and the app came up. You know, that the way Twitter does that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And just went with it. And ultimately, what I've said about those is I stand by my views on it. I wish I'd expressed them better if I knew the guy was going to watch it himself. But yeah, it's easy to fall into that, like, oh god, this person supports all this garbage stuff or writes these garbage things. Let me just post a quick thing making fun of them. And it's weird because you have to think about someone's getting it. Like, it's so easy, we're so conditioned even to think that sending something out on Twitter or whatever is not only isn't anything going to happen from it, but the person won't even see it if they're big enough, right?
But, like, especially with comics, it's much easier for them to find that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, even like big movie makers, like, there was a video essay someone did about Guillermo del Toro, and del Toro retweeted it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happening. Like, every time I tag Tom King in something, he says something back.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. They start to develop a continuity of who they're following. Mm-hmm. Particularly with comic book writers, because comic book writers don't start out big. Mm-hmm. So you have to be super careful if you're going to tag them. Mm-hmm. Because they get a lot of it, but they also read all of it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and that gets really interesting. And to kind of swing back another way with that, do you think that discourse has become more poisoned because they get all the bad stuff? So it's like much harder to be nuanced about a thing because they're so used to dealing with the negative that you can't give a opinion that's more balanced or nuanced or like this part I like, this part I think has problems, because you're likely to get a response that's more conditioned to deal with people who are being outright assholes.
Yes, but that's a yes and no question, because part of it's the structure. Part of it is like, dislike, 140 or I guess 280 characters now. Mm-hmm. There's only so much space that you want to have like very clear, sharp, provocative reactions, and it's hard to do nuance. If you look at Twitter threads, most of the attention is always on like the first and last tweet. No one actually reads the middle. So, which is terrible because I write so many Twitter threads.
I read the whole thing.
Well, as you should. But like Rotten Tomatoes, right? Like, and I don't have anything against Rotten Tomatoes, but it's another one of those things where like, is it fresh or is it rotten? Mm-hmm. So like the structure of the internet makes it so you want to have like a really clear, 100% certain reactions to everything right away. But the other problem is that this wasn't simply because of the internet. I've always had this mindset that toxic fans didn't just spring up out of nowhere. The industries that the fans are part of are the reason that they're toxic. Because if you go back and look at this, decades and decades and decades of racism and misogyny in comics bred a lot of racist and misogynist people that read comics. Mm-hmm. Which means now that they have the internet, they can be racist and misogynist about things. It's not like they sprang up out of nowhere. This goes as far back as Alan Moore shooting Barbara Gordon and Lee Weeks saying, yeah, crippled a bitch. Mm-hmm. Like, it was always there. So the internet just gives it more of a voice. So, like, you're right, it's hard to do, like, more of that nuanced conversation because of the internet structure, but also, we weren't really doing it beforehand either.
Yeah, I know, it's weird because, like, like, my most hot take, controversial opinion about the new Star Wars movies.
Yes.
Sounds like one of those things that a bunch of the asshole racist fans, those are the real fake fans.
Yes.
Sounds like one of the things that they'd say. I think it's weird that we have characters of color working for the First Order in the new Star Wars movies.
Because of the Nazi metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finn, I'm cool with, but like, you know, there's a lot of commentary on him essentially as a slave taken from childhood, right?
Right.
There's random officers in Last Jedi just on the bridge of the Dreadnought, and they're like Asian, South Asian, stuff like that. I'm like, it feels weird to dress those people up in Nazi garb and just have it there, and I don't feel like anything's being said about it. So I realize that can sound really wrong, and that it can seem like I'm trying to limit the roles that people of color can have. But I swear it's not coming from that place. God help me when I try to explain that to someone.
Yeah.
I get just instantly hit with this wall, and I think that wall develops because the negative, the toxic side of a fandom has built up so much that people have to have their guard up. They cannot afford to be generous to what you have to say unless you can say it really, really precisely in a really profound way instantly.
Yeah. Well, and because there's so much oversaturation of content when you're on the internet, not that we're making more things, but that you can watch more things all the time. Mm-hmm. The more bad examples you run into, it doesn't matter how much better this one bad example is, it's still another bad example. Mm-hmm. Daredevil Season 3 with Bullseye is a really good example for me, where, like, it's not like that season in particular did anything that was uniquely wrong. It was just another thing that did this particular thing wrong, so it's bad. Mm-hmm. But that's me. And if I won't spoil it because I don't think you've seen it yet.
I haven't even finished Season 2.
You shouldn't. Season 2 is not good. It's really not. Literally, Season 2 does not matter in Season 3. At all.
I like the Punisher stuff, and then the Elektra stuff just bored the crap out of me.
Daredevil is infinitely less interesting when the Hand shows up. Every time.
Yeah?
When Bendis did it, when Miller did it, when Rubik, never has the Hand made a Daredevil story better.
Weird. Anyway, so back to what we're saying.
Yeah.
The notion of, like, just these things... It's become easier to recognize the patterns now, though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So now that we recognize these formulaic things, it's getting harder to ignore those things. But at the same time, formulas and tropes exist for a reason, and if you try to make a film that avoids every pitfall and trope and formula, it's probably going to be an incomprehensible mess, probably directed by David Lynch.
Well, yeah. Everything by David Lynch. Yeah. But, like, I get that, but on some level you still have to, like, understand where the trope is coming from and why it's cultural. This is the problem with putting Tarantino movies. Because I like Tarantino movies, for the most part. The problem is, he takes all the genre tropes that have ever existed ever for anything he's doing, and he mashes them together without at any point addressing the context for why they're there. Mm-hmm. And so you just kind of get this, here's Uma Thurman with a samurai sword going around killing a bunch of ninjas, not realizing that, okay, you're paying homage to old martial arts films, but you're also recreating all the racist tropes embedded in those movies in the first place, because most of them are made in America. Mm-hmm. So you should probably say something about that.
Yeah, and I don't know, do you think that Tarantino's not aware of that kind of stuff?
I don't think he is. The way he talks, I think Tarantino's one of those people that watches movies, has really visceral, natural reactions to them, and that's when he stops thinking about them. Mm-hmm. I think Tarantino's really one of those guys that, like, doesn't matter why or how or what you did, if you feel something, that's good enough. Mm-hmm. And then he just makes all of his movies around trying to generate those feelings. Usually you get something really good and kind of nuanced, like Inglourious Bastards. Mm-hmm. It's a weird... It's not a nuanced movie, but, yeah. It's a very direct movie. You're scalping Nazis, but...
But there's a Nazi who's not, like, into the whole Nazi thing. He's just...
That's true.
He's a very villainous character, but he's not villainous because he's a Nazi.
Is that Michael Fassbender or is that Zemo? Is that Zemo?
No, not Zemo. It's not the lizard either. What's his name? Hans.
There's so many guys now.
He's Fritz in Django.
Oh, okay. Well, and Django's the other example, right? Like, Inglourious Basterds is one end where, like, that visceral reaction stuff works. Django is another end of the spectrum where It works, but kind of despite itself, because there's a lot of, like, structural Western stuff that he just doesn't feel like dealing with, or doesn't think to deal with. Mm-hmm. This is way off topic.
No, but it's cool. This is what we do. No, but, like, to circle it back then, it's happening, and we're recognizing those patterns more because there's more voice being lent to people who... Suppressed is the right word, but it sounds way too negative and like it's always intentional.
Yeah.
There's definitely suppression of diversity of viewpoints and voices, but sometimes it's just to be expected because, you know, Fort Wayne, fucking, they're not going to have a someone with very critical viewpoints on a movie from a racial side of things, for example, come on to the local 10 o'clock news and give a up-down, vote down vote on whether or not it's a good movie.
Right.
But now you can seek that stuff out, and it's there to be found, and so it's changing the discourse around art. It's changing the discourse. Social media and interaction online is changing the discourse around politics significantly in both directions.
More so than anywhere else, the internet's the most stable equality amongst everyone. Everyone can have equal access to it for the most part. The problem is just what happens afterwards. Mm-hmm. Because you've got a lot of people that corner the markets on certain kinds of YouTube videos or certain kinds of Twitter feeds.
I mean, God help you if you want to make a video about The Last Jedi.
Honestly, yes.
The only way you can do it is like, The Last Jedi is the greatest film ever made.
Yeah.
Which it is. But
it's the best Star Wars movie by miles.
Yeah, like that's the only way you could have anything that's going to stand out from this movie is garbage, hot trash, blah, blah, blah. Like,
those are the only two opinions, though, right? It's either the greatest Star Wars movie of all time or it's the worst one.
Yeah, and so it's impossible for nuance to rise to the crop, but even if you were to make something that's saying this is a good movie, you have to sell it as it's great, otherwise it's just going to get lost in this sea of videos that just hate on it.
Well, and YouTube likes this, right? YouTube likes the polemics. YouTube likes the idea that your video is only a certain length, you distribute them on specific, consistent days, it has a specific audience range, and it's really, really literal. Because part of the thing about 21st century discourse is we hyperbolize everything. Everything is literally happening, even though nothing is literally happening. But that's just how we talk. Yeah. And YouTube and Google and all of that stuff really likes that. And it just keeps hamming it up. Every YouTube title has to have like 6 or 7 adjectives in it for some reason.
I know, like shit, I should have made the thumbnail for the big surprise video where we reveal that you're here. Yeah. I should have, like, you know, big red circle around your face, arrow.
Yeah, exactly. Explained, big yellow letters.
Oh my god, stuff. Fucking explain.
I can't do explain videos. They're all terrible. All of them are terrible.
Like, and they explain things that don't need to be explained.
Well, and Folding Ideas just did a video about this. They explain things very intentionally to get rid of the metaphor, even though the metaphor is the thing that you have to understand.
Yeah, and like, so sometimes I fall into like the trap of them because I like certain things. The channel Super Carlin Brothers does a lot of Harry Potter themed videos.
Sure.
And sometimes they have like these interesting fan theories, but it's weird to see how Tumblr and Reddit fan theorizing language has just kind of colored what is legitimate critique and uncovering of the text. So like, there's a moment in the last Harry Potter book where his wand shoots golden sparks.
Okay.
And it's this whole metaphor about Harry as the Phoenix. It's you'd have to read the fucking books in this.
It's been a long ass time since I've read those.
Yeah, but like it's this whole fucking metaphor about Harry's character. It's this big. It's part of the hero's journey. It's everything.
Sure.
It's the whole series.
Sure.
And he sits there and explains the golden sparks like it's a fan theory. And it's just literal. It's actual literary criticism and contemplation on the piece. But like the internet age approach to analyzing a text is now to explain it like you've got some kind of theory on the thing. And it's like, no, it's there. Everything you said is right there for you.
So explain this to me. What are the Blade Runner 2049 ending videos explaining?
I don't know.
What's to explain?
What's dead?
Yeah. He's dead and it's snowing. What is there to explain?
Yeah, it's so crazy when you see stuff like that. It's changed the style of discourse around the thing. But at the same time, I can't be too critical of it because I got over it.
Sure.
But that's how I started to develop, in some ways, critical thinking skills about media.
Yeah.
So it's this weird thing where it's a doorway, but it's being perpetuated for years in this same easy-to-swallow format.
The internet's one of those things where you can make your own community to an extent. Mm-hmm. And when you do, you can do a lot of stuff to better yourself and explore things you didn't explore before. But it's very hard to get out of the rabbit holes you dig yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, if you started on Tumblr when Tumblr first opened, and you're still there, you're never getting out. I'm one of those people that, it's my homepage, when I open my laptop, when I turn on Firefox, Facebook and Twitter are instantly open every time. I can't get out of that.
Oh, God.
It's never going away. It's just one of those things where, like, you have to be really careful what communities you've decided what you want to be a part of, but you can't do that without trying in the first place, and it's really hard to get out afterwards. Mm-hmm. I can't shut down my Twitter.
Yeah.
I like it too much.
You'd be cutting yourself off from people that you legitimately enjoy interacting with, whereas when it is negativity that you're having to deal with, it takes 2 seconds to block or mute someone.
Yeah. Muting is my favorite, because they're yelling at nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's
fantastic.
Yeah. There's interesting arguments about why blocking is better and Twitter should actually just remove the mute, because muting is satisfying to the person, but it doesn't protect others from the discourse.
I mean, Twitter just needs to change its guidelines to ban Nazis, but that's not happening.
Yeah, sure. I don't know, there's other things like that. Like, it legitimately bothers me that you can block someone on YouTube, but they can still watch your content.
Yeah, that bugs the hell out of me, too.
Yeah, I really wish
because they can still share it and stuff. There was this one person after I made my Batman vs. Superman video that did nothing but for 3 months share it around Twitter to people who like Batman vs. Superman. That was his entire Twitter feed for like 3 months. Wow. I didn't understand why anyone would want to do that.
It's like just breeding this anger that it's simmering.
But, like, what's your life that's all you do?
I don't know. Like, I've found videos of people saying some stupid-ass shit and that I disagree with politically, or they're supporting some kind of, fucking garbage movie or whatever.
Sure.
And I've been, like, posted on Twitter once, oh my god, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
But that's it. I don't keep coming back to it. Like, there is this... Do you think it's mental illness, or do you think it's just a new developing thing that we're a little too old to get?
I don't think it's mental illness. I think it's just a developmental thing. Like, at this point, there are people alive on the internet that have been on the internet for years that don't know a world without it.
Mm-hmm. And we barely do.
Yeah. I mean, like, I grew up right when the internet was starting to, like, really kick off. Like, I still had dial-up, but, like, I had dial-up.
Yeah, and I was a little ahead of you, but, like, really, by the time I was in high school, I was weird because I didn't have a MySpace, and I didn't get and I still don't have a Facebook.
You should get a Facebook. It's fun.
No.
It's fun. It's toxic as hell, but so is Twitter.
Yeah, but I don't know. Twitter... It's not that Twitter can't create drama anymore, because, I mean, look at the White House, but initially it could not. We did a video. This is... Oh my god, one of our first episodes of Geeky Gentleman was a video on social media, and here we are again.
That was literally our first video, wasn't it?
I think it was the first solo with you and me.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy that we're back at this.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. But anyway, like, Twitter used to be that you couldn't create a lot of drama because just who the fuck's gonna bother to read all these messages? But now they fucking do, or at least they pretend to, and you're just stirring the pot of controversy. So it's not like the community's changed too much, but I don't like Facebook because while it is all collected and that prevents certain kind of debates, Facebook's, the way it works, the way the people it tries to connect are literally there just to create more controversy to get people to spend more time on Facebook. I
mean, that's fair. I'll give you this hot take that will probably sell you on Facebook, though. Facebook's got better memes than every other social media. Better than Tumblr, better than MySpace. MySpace doesn't have memes. Better than Tumblr, better than Twitter. Facebook's got the best memes because they come from everywhere. Damn, it's worth it.
Maybe
it's worth it.
I don't know. I'm kind of just been watching videos of memes on YouTube. It's kind of ridiculous.
How would you do that? It defeats the purpose.
There's a whole it's got a computerized voice reading it, and it almost makes the comedic timing just a little bit better.
No way. It's not how that works.
I'm going to show you one.
That's not how that should work.
I will have to show you one because it's kind of ridiculous.
There's a book by a philosopher who lives over in Denmark, I think, it just came out earlier this year called Nihilism and Technology. The whole argument of the book is that social media and technology in particular has created really dynamic social interactions, which is important, but it's created social interactions in a way where it generates problems that didn't have to exist before, and they want to keep up those problems. So, like, for example, the anxiety of someone seeing your message and not responding. That doesn't have to be a feature.
Oh, man.
Why does that exist for any reason other than to make you anxious at this point?
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't there a different kind of anxiety when you don't know if someone's seen it yet or not?
That's like fucking Schrödinger's box. That's fine. They could have seen it and they will respond now, instantly, or they haven't seen it yet. You can always trick yourself into thinking they haven't seen it yet and they've responded the second they do. You can't do that with Seen. Seen is, they saw it and they're typing out a response for 6 hours and then we'll eventually get back to you. It's a lot worse. That doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, and like, have you had the... It can be both positive and negative. Have you had the interaction of someone you did not expect to reply to you replying to you?
Yes.
And like, you know, sometimes it's a feeling of anxiety, and sometimes it's feeling like, oh my god, this is cool.
Yeah.
But it's a new kind of feeling, because like, I imagine there was excitement over getting a letter, but I think it's just it would feel different because it's not as instantaneous.
Well, yeah, you send out a letter, you'd be excited for a response, like a week passes, you forgot you sent the letter, and then you get one. Which is an okay kind of excitement, but it's not the same sort of like momentum built up.
Yeah, like I remember when I did the Larfleeze Christmas motion comic.
Oh, with Jeff Johns retweeting it?
Yeah, I was so surprised. Like, I figured, all right, I'll tag Jeff Johns in this, and he's not going to notice it. It's going to get buried in his feed. And then not only did he see it, he watched the thing and then retweeted it and tagged other people in the retweet that were involved in the comic. And that was, like, so crazy to me to get that kind of reaction from someone.
I mean, you have two ends of the spectrum with these kinds of things. You tag a creator and they're an asshole about it, or you tag a creator and they're legitimately excited.
Yeah.
Tom King's another one of those people that, like, good or bad, he will respond and he's always a sweetheart about it.
Yeah.
He's great.
I could not imagine if Alan Moore had a Twitter.
I kind of want one now. I really want to see Alan Moore's Twitter. Probably just, like, witchcraft and shit on there.
Yeah, I don't know, like...
Druid spells.
Alan Moore seems like the petty kind of person who would get into an argument with you. Like, you know, you've had that interaction with someone, right? Where, like, you reviewed their piece and they're like, no, you just didn't understand it. I feel like Alan Moore would be that guy.
Well, that's the other thing, right? That's the other problem that social media creates that doesn't have to, which is argument wars, which we've always had. But, like, the very public threading of them almost literally where you can't get away and you have to, like, either leave it at someone's last words or both of you agree to leave and no one ever does it. Like, the internet's almost designed to get people into continuous conversation, but also arguments. And the conversation's fine, but the arguments don't have to be structured this way. You
know, and YouTube's updated its comments enough now where it's harder to do this, but, like, I remember, you know, I'd have one of those seemingly endless arguments with someone in the comments.
Yeah.
And then I'd walk away from it, and like months later, there'd be someone else replying to it and joining in. So it's like, the thing can't even die. It has to come back.
Yeah.
Because someone else picks it up, and it just starts the whole cycle over again.
Well, because everything's on the internet forever. Someone's going to respond to it again eventually. I'm still getting comments on my Age of Ultron video. That video has been out for like
3 years.
3 years? 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah. For 3 years, I still get comments on, like 3 a day.
Yeah, and let me guess, 2 out of those 3 are fake.
Yep. 2 out of 3 of those are always, where's the movie?
Yeah. Well, there's some episodes of Geeky Gentleman, and it's hilarious because it's a different language every time. But, like, certain episodes will get nothing but comments in a language that I can't read.
Yeah.
But I can't plug in what they're saying to Google Translate because it's clearly 13-year-olds using really bad grammar in their own language.
Oh, God.
So they're sitting there, they think it's the movie, and then they find out it's not and type something in, like, Spanish, but it's really bad grammar Spanish, just like any internet speak.
Of course.
And so I can't even tell what they're mad at me for. I just have to infer that it's because it's not the movie. So, like, that one... we did a review of the Peter Cushing Doctor Who movies at one point.
Oh, yeah.
And that one's got, like, comments in, I want to say it's, like, Arabic or something. It's weird to see, like, the rage that comes out. And I can't even translate to figure out what it is.
It's a really particular rage where they can't just read the title. Why is that so hard?
It's not only they can't read the title, it's that they, like, take the time once they realize that it's not what they thought it was to leave a shitty comment.
Yeah.
It's so petty. I don't know how to react to that. It's just the epitome of pettiness.
I mean, but that's the internet, right? The internet is... and I don't like psychoanalysis, but it's the id coming out, right? Everyone is just completely unfiltered because they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Well, there's no incentive to be filtered on the internet.
And it's weird as that's bleeding into normal interaction.
Yeah.
Now, because dude's changed the public discourse, Donald Trump has, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the method of public discourse, and all he is, like, when he talks to people, he's his fucking Twitter account.
Yeah.
There's no denying, like, people go, oh, when the president tweets it, he doesn't actually mean it. No, you're just trying to spin this shit. That man is the most, like, upfront about his Twitter account that he could possibly be. Like, that is literally like his Twitter account walked out on stage.
I am so surprised they can't just take it away from him.
I mean, if I were in his staff, I'd
change his password.
Yeah, he's old. He won't figure out how to fix it.
No, dude's like literally 70.
Yeah. So it's absolutely crazy to look at just how that's changing and bleeding over into the public. And all the other guys on Capitol Hill are too old to know what the fuck to do about it. They're still playing this in the same game of like when it was the Republican primaries, you'd have Rubio and shit. It's like, you're not going to bully your way into the Oval Office. I don't think you understand how internet trolls work.
Well, did you see the Zuckerberg Senate hearing? Mm-hmm. Where, like, they were asking him questions that very clearly he had answers to, but they wouldn't understand. Mm-hmm. It was just embarrassing.
Yeah, and so, like, it's going to be at least a generation until these things catch up, assuming it doesn't keep changing as rapidly as it is, because, like you said earlier, 5 years ago was different than it is now, even though the technology hasn't changed that significantly.
Well, I mean, we can already, like, tier block this a little bit, right? Like, there were some memes... Like, there was that one time I tweeted... What was it? 5 edgy, 3 me? Mm-hmm. Which is a meme that was, like, too edgy for me or something like that. Yeah. And you didn't get it.
Yeah, I was like, lost on that shit. Looking it up.
You've got that, and I'm just a little bit younger than you. And now people are like... Fortnite and Yeet, and I have no idea what any of these things are.
Yeah,
what the hell is this yeet? What is yeeting?
I saw a great tweet on there. It was like, millennials complaining about teenagers making Fortnite jokes is their slow transition into crotchety old people complaining about the younger generations.
What the fuck is Fortnite? Someone explain Fortnite to me.
It's a video game.
But what is it? I've seen people play it.
It's a battle royale style video game, and you build forts and you kill each other and you do dances when you kill people.
But why is it so weird?
Because it's the internet. It's something that was designed to be popular on the internet. Did you watch Getting Over It? Did you play Getting Over It?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, but like Fortnite, it's almost like to play it well, you have to play it in a really confusing to watch manner. Mm-hmm. Where like the camera can't be steady, you're constantly shooting at something, you're always jumping around instead of like it's such a weird experience to watch.
And you're just old now.
I guess I am.
This is like...
What's yeet? Someone explain yeet.
Yeet, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm too old for yeet.
Okay.
You should get on Urban Dictionary and look up yeet.
Let me look up yeet. I have to use Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. You know, in courts, they anytime someone uses slang or there's a debate about slang, Urban Dictionary is essentially a okayed source.
Like, see, that makes sense.
Yeah, if the entire case is revolving around the slang, they'll do more than that. But, like, if there's a small issue about slang, they'll quickly pull up Urban Dictionary and look it up. And that's kind of weird and crazy.
As an exclamation, it can be used to express excitement, usually happily, but also nervously. It can also be used as an exclamation of victory, or a battle cry, or focused shout, while throwing or hitting something. What the hell is this word?
It's versatile. The internet likes its versatile words. YOLO was like that for a bit there.
YOLO was like that for a while, yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird to see the way that like language is evolving because of that.
Well, people talk in memes in real life now, right? Like I have so many friends where we just like quote memes to each other and we understand how we're feeling. Mm-hmm. My best friend, when he started dating someone, I barely ever spoke to her, and we bonded over just tagging each other in memes constantly. Mm-hmm. That's our relationship at this point. If I don't tag her in a meme today, something's wrong, and if she doesn't tag me in a meme today, something's wrong.
Wow.
Like, it's bizarre.
And that's weird because, like, that's not a thing. It's just, memes are just inside jokes that a lot of people are inside on.
Yeah.
And so it's out there. I did actually a whole philosophy paper on memes at one point, but this is like 2012 or so it's like using outdated examples of memes like Velociraptor and shit.
I love Velociraptor. I miss Velociraptor.
I know. I'm sad that memes die.
Internet.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's really weird the way that changes. But yeah, I use internet speak from time to time. I'll say BRB and leave the room.
There's nothing wrong with it. I will say LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
Weird. It's weird to think about because we are like the last generation that grew up where that kind of stuff just wasn't happening yet.
Yeah. It's weird how fast some of these things die because I feel like I'm on the internet a lot because I am, and I feel like I keep up on most memes pretty regularly. But when I teach, every now and then I'll just throw up a meme on the screen because it's funny. Mm-hmm. And half of my class, I'm only 24. Half of my class is like 18 or 19, and they won't get it. I put up a Yu-Gi-Oh meme and they didn't get it because they don't do Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Mm-hmm. It's apparently not a thing anymore.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh memes are for your generation. It's really specifically tailored because I caught Yu-Gi-Oh! I caught the tail end of it. I was in 5th grade when the first episode came on.
Sure.
And that's just at the end of their age range that they were initially gunning for.
Sure.
And so I never really got into it, but I know about it. I comprehend it. Yu-Gi-Oh's term was something marketed specifically to your age group.
Yes.
And then it didn't stick around as long like something like the Dragon Ball Z did as far as
that's the weird thing.
Popularity.
Yu-Gi-Oh! The anime didn't stick around as well. It's not great, and it's had fading viewership forever, but Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game keeps going strong. It's as strong as Magic is. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's just a really niche thing. Like, no one really plays... People play Yu-Gi-Oh! Really, really competitively and it's gotten bigger, but it's also just a small community. Mm. I guess that goes to popularity on the internet, right? Like, you can have a video that has 15 million views, and that's a lot and you're popular, but that's not necessarily a lot in the grand scheme of things.
Because there are videos like 40 million views in 2 weeks.
Right. Like, compare the viewership of, like, the World Cup to the World Series or something. Mm-hmm. They're both undoubtedly popular, but one completely dwarfs the other.
And, I mean, the World Series is, of course, not the World Series.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I just had to pull 2 titles. I don't even know what either one of those are. World Series is baseball?
Yes.
Okay. What's World Cup?
Soccer.
Okay.
Or football.
Okay. That makes that makes more sense, because that's more people. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just weird how that shit works, and I feel like that's just kind of the thing. The internet is just weird, and it's changed things so much. It's weird.
Uber is a really bizarre thing to explain to someone, which is, I give a stranger my location and pay them to take me somewhere. Mm-hmm. Really weird.
But I mean, how is it really any different than taxis, right?
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not at all.
But taxis are a completely normal thing going back hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so it's just that's the other meme that's not even really a meme. It's just something like people are pointing out now. Of like the Silicon Valley crowd just keeps remaking things, but just trying to sell them as like some kind of big innovation.
Yeah.
So like there was a proposed app or something about buying up real estate and buildings and houses and renting out rooms to people. And like this new Silicon Valley CEO has got this brand new app, and someone just replies to it. Landlord. He invented landlords. It's just that's what it is. So it's not even that it's new. It's just it's changing ever so slightly for the internet age.
America's already like a really individualized culture. Liberalism as a concept is really individualizing, but the internet in particular has changed things now where you can have really big, massive companies like YouTube/Google and Uber And the whole business model is supply all of the infrastructure and give all the liability to the individual person. Mm-hmm. If you uploaded a copyrighted movie to YouTube, it's not YouTube's fault. Mm-hmm. And that's a really weird business model because, naturally YouTube can't get blamed for it, and that makes sense. But that's not a thing that makes sense outside of internet context where you give everyone infinite power.
Mm-hmm. It's just nuts to think about. And, this video is going to be a relic relatively quickly because it's just the idea of documenting meeting someone that you've only known online. Within a couple of years, it's going to be more common. People get married when they've never even met in person; they just met online, and so the interaction here is going to be relic, but it's still new and fresh and weird. It doesn't happen all the time.
Well, and memes are hieroglyphs, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Like you could. There's a meme out of The Office, and it's the dude from that horror movie that just came out with the monsters that are deaf, or not deaf. The monsters that have really good hearing, so you have to be quiet. Mm-hmm. John Krasinski? Mm-hmm. That's his name, yeah. He was in The Office, and there's that meme of, him just looking out of blinds. And everyone knows what that means. There's no text, there's no way to explain it. You just know what that means. Mm-hmm. 5 years from now, no one has any idea what we're talking about when we're sharing that.
Yeah.
I look back at memes I shared 5 years ago on Facebook, and I have no idea what they mean, because I don't use them anymore.
Yeah, and they've lost their relevance and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just this... It's rapidizing cultural interaction because, an inside joke is something that used to be an inside joke for quite a while, and even that's not necessarily true. So I made movies with my friends when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And there's in the credits of the first movie we made, we put a gag reel, and there's this moment of me saying something to one of my friends. I remember what it is. I'm in the car, passenger seat, I'm filming, and the car's driving away, and my friend Phil is trying to run and stay in the frame of the camera in the car, just because we're being stupid, silly teenagers. And the car eventually goes too fast, he kind of, loses it, and then I just yell out the window, "What happened to the black race?" And I know I'm joking there. I have no idea what the fuck I was joking about. I have no idea what the fuck the inside joke was there, what spawned that, why that was funny, but the person driving the car starts laughing, I hear Phil laughing in the background. It's just, and yet memes are that exact same thing. It's just instant, and it's between strangers, and it's boiled down more.
Well, in that book I was talking about earlier, Nihilism and Technology, the chapter titles are famous philosophy quotes that get meme or emojified, which is really interesting because part of the problem with the book, or part of the cool thing about the book really, is you can't actually physically read out the title. You just kind of know what it says because you know the internet.
Okay.
So instead of will to nothingness or anything from Nietzsche, the opening chapter is will to shrug emoji. How do you decipher that outside of this context? Mm-hmm. It's really bizarre because it means a particular thing. And you just can't put any words to it because it's already as simplified as it possibly could be. What's more simple than just having a movie still with an emotional expression and no subtitles?
And I guess the interesting thing to talk about this, again, within more of a wider historical context, is not only is this fleeting, not only is this going to fade really instantly, but cultural interactions like that didn't used to fade this quickly.
No. The Egyptian Empire was
3,000 years?
Yeah, 3,000 years, and that hieroglyphs make perfect sense. This is 3 months, 3 weeks, and things fade. Mm-hmm. 3 hours almost? It depends.
Yeah, right? There's I remember when the trailer for Force Awakens dropped, there was a BB-8 Twitter account within about 15 minutes, but it was before BB-8 had a name, so it was just Soccer Ball Droid.
Yep.
Because that's what everyone was calling BB-8.
Because he was a soccer ball droid.
Yeah, but instantly that account became meaningless.
What happened to emo Kylo Ren?
I don't know. He kind of faded off after Last Jedi, didn't he?
Yeah. Emo Kylo Ren is not a thing anymore. Ah, damn it. Right? Right? The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina just came out last month. There's a Satan account on Twitter. I bet you anything in 5 months I won't be seeing anything from it.
Well, the Satan account predates it, doesn't it?
It does, but it only got popular like around this time, around October.
Well, I just remember there was like I think it was like Cardi B said something like, "Not today, Satan, fuck right off," and Satan just responded, "Rude." Like, I think that's where it started to kind of take off, and now it's enjoying more popularity because of Sabrina. That one probably has more legs, I think.
I would hope. I love following Satan on Twitter.
Yeah.
I follow Satan.
I follow Satan, too. Actually, no, I don't.
You should follow Satan.
I should follow Satan.
Satan's funny.
Oh, God. This is
Satan's
what
got
happens.
jokes.
You let someone in your house, and then they just start telling you about their religion.
Yeah.
It's just...
You gotta follow Satan, you gotta be a communist, you gotta get tattoos, you gotta have the whole 9 yards here.
Oh. Alright, so let's talk about the political context then, because here's a question for you. Would communism be having any kind of revival if not for the internet?
I know exactly what your question is. No. It's entirely because of the memes. Okay, so philosophers, and I use that term loosely just in the sense of people that are in grad school that do philosophy right now. Surprisingly, there's a lot of us, and we have a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of Twitter accounts, and a lot of like Facebook groups. And philosophy memes are the weirdest thing on the planet because they're so funny and no one gets them.
Existential comics is beautiful.
Existential comics is great, but existential comics explains its humor, okay? Like existential comics, I'm going to pull this up and you can put it on the screen. I'm just going to open a random philosophy meme that I've shared around, and I guarantee you no one knows what the fuck this is about.
Oh, God.
There's a Facebook group called Kant Posting. It's just shit posting Kant memes.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to pull one up, and you're not going to understand what it is, or you might, and it's going to be really hard to explain.
Like, I remember in one video we were making fun, or I made some kind of joke. I'm like, see, Steve, you're like Kant. You're wrong about everything, but in interesting and profound ways. And, like, if you know Kant, it's really funny, but if you don't, it's kind of meaningless.
Okay, so this one. You can post this, I'll send it to you.
Alright. Theory of transcendental appreciation. Can I get a...
Why is that funny? Because it is. God. Because it's Kant. Because it's Kant and it's transcendental.
No, it's a perception. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that took me a minute to get there.
That's what I'm saying. The one I was telling you earlier when we were having lunch, that joke from the Good Place where Kristen Bell's like, who died and left Aristotle in charge of ethics? Plato. I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
Yeah. The way that, like... And not only communism, though, because, like, fascism's taken off, and
Fascists can't meme.
Yeah?
Fascist memes are really bad.
Yeah.
Not just in what they speak, but, like, their meme formats are really bizarre. I have this one friend that was in our grad program, then left, went to do law school. It's a person that runs a lot of, like, philosophy and communist meme pages, and they have reposted a lot of stuff I've seen from, like, right-wing Facebook groups, and they're just, like, bad. Like, they're like memes you put on Paint. It's really bizarre. Like Microsoft Paint level memes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's mainly, it's a more conservative base to kind of get into that kind of philosophy, so they're just naturally averse to technological interaction. But, like, yeah, so not only communism and fascism have kind of had more of a resurgence, but, like, really weird kind of fringe political philosophies like libertarianism has kind of taken off because of the internet, I feel.
Because it's all about individual autonomy, right?
Yeah.
The internet is, not really, but the libertarians will tell you the internet is the perfect representation of the free marketplace of ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's literally not, but they're going to say
they're literal fucking monopolies and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and like most mainstream economics literature since like 1970, monopolies are not a bad thing anymore with the way the U.S. economy works. Mm-hmm. And so like all of this whole idea that memes can have life cycles and stuff makes perfect sense. Wendy's would not be as successful as it is right now if its Twitter account wasn't hilarious. Mm-hmm. I have no idea who thought of that, but it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I see memes and commercials all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
This is how they communicate now.
Like, I remember when Futurama came back for like the third fucking time.
I was going to say, which time?
Yeah. For the third fucking time on Comedy Central, they took the Futurama memes, took the clips the episodes were from, and animated the text in. So there's like the squinting Fry meme, the not sure if Fry. They took the clip where that Fry squint is from and put like not sure if rerun or episode I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Or new episode. It's like really like, yeah, that's right on point with the meme. And so they've transitioned them. And there are some people who know what they're doing. And then there are times where people just fucking butcher a meme and try to use it for the corporate purposes.
Yeah, because old people don't necessarily get memes. I mean, I don't get certain memes at this point. But
Yeah, 'cause
like,
you're an old person.
I am an old person. I'm 24. My life's over.
Yep.
So
You crumbled into dust yet?
I have back pains.
Oh.
I'm old.
Yeah.
It's hard getting up in the morning.
Gotta take my medicine after this.
Yeah, I got a tooth too. So it's very, very sad. But yeah, like memes are a way to communicate, but they're like a weird way to bond. You get certain kind of clique groups that make certain kinds of memes. The distracted boyfriend meme. That's a really, really interesting one because it got self-aware so fast.
And that's one that has not died off
because you can do so much with it. It's that meme shows up. It's really, really sexist at first and really bizarre, and the format doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then everything after that is perfect. There's one I really, really liked early on that they did where it was the boyfriend was Albert Camus, the distracted girlfriend was wife, and then the woman walking away was literally any other woman ever. And it's hilarious because it draws attention to the meme being misogynistic and then makes that the joke. And they keep doing this. There's another one I just reposted today, which is like the woman walking away is the ellipses, the distracted boyfriend is old people, and then the girlfriend is any other punctuation mark. And I don't know why, but that's hilarious and accurate.
So it's weird to look at that and again, the political thing, like fringe politics become more widespread. And it's because now there's communities to be presented to those ideas within their own context as opposed to through another context. Because, like, you know, you're in school and you learn about communism, but you're told immediately communism doesn't work.
Right.
Because we're in a capitalist society. Whereas you learn about communism online, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, here are these objectively bad things that happened under communist utopias, or communist societies. Here are these bad things that happened under your society. How do you justify that? And a lot of times people just can't, and so it gets to really weird things. And so you're getting these things within their own context as opposed to being poisoned by a dominating interpretation.
Well, and part of the issue with this also is because it's the internet and everything has to be extreme and hyperbolized, a lot of the readings of stuff you see are wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like communist Facebook groups like pull out quotes and they're completely out of context and they don't mean what they think they want them to mean. Like when Foucault says power always meets resistance, it's got nothing to do with fighting back. This is not what that quote means at all. It just literally means that if you're going to exert force on something, you have to exert force. That's all that means. It's the most non-moral stance you could take, but the people like lionize around it because it makes a meme.
And then there's the idea of like how much does the interpretation of something matter over the intention of it, right?
That's true.
So like that can totally be a battle cry, though.
It could. It doesn't work though, right? Like part of the issue with communist Facebook groups in particular is that most of them are people that are relatively well off and privileged, and they just kind of want to circle jerk and make other people feel bad. And it's really annoying. Like, if you want to help your community, don't start a Maoist reading group. Doesn't do anything. Why is that the first inclination for most internet communists is to start a Maoist reading group?
I don't know.
That doesn't work. I'm
right.
talking specifically about someone I know too. So
Shade.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I don't think there's a natural end to this conversation. It's just interesting to think about all the different things that social interaction over the internet has changed and is continuing to change historically. So I guess the note I want to end on here, the last thing I want to bring up is it changing or is it just making it more apparent?
I think it's just making it more apparent. I think the beauty of the internet is that everything is super literal. Everything. Like, when the dictionary changed the definition of a literal to include figurative, that sounded bizarre, but But it makes perfect sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everything is just out there. And it's got its power structures, but they're completely apparent. Like, I was talking about this earlier, I'm writing a paper on post-truth, and the whole notion of post-truth doesn't make sense to me, because it's not that truth has changed in meaning. It's that now we are just absolutely aware of the idea that truth is political, and most of it's bullshit.
Yeah. I think that's a really good place to end on. Everyone, thank you very much for watching this first live interaction episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Fantastic discussion, Steve.
Yes.
Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the exile.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.